Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Jenna and Philip, and we are here to discuss more of the curriculum for the Learning to Love program. Today, we're going to be speaking to you about the topic of control. I find this very, very interesting, being a recovering control freak. I'm not going to pretend like I'm recovered because it does play its head in my life often, especially when I'm feeling overstressed, overtaxed, overwhelmed, and even fearful. So we're going to dive into this and discuss why that is, where control can show up, why it shows up there, and what's really happening to us. So Philip, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Jenna. It's nice to be here again with you.
Yes. So control, being a recovering control freak, I am now able to recognize when control is starting to play into my world. Maybe not immediately, but within the first few seconds, I can start to notice when I'm trying to control things at a much stronger level than perhaps I was a few minutes ago. And I want to dive into that as to why that is, so that people can be aware. I think one of the great things about this course is it's about awareness and observation, so that we can bring these things to the surface, so that we can understand our behavior at a deeper level. So you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm going to dive into it by throwing back a question at you. And that's, when you think of yourself as controlling, do you have any judgments around being someone who's controlling?
I do, and I think a lot of it comes from my gender. There's a word that we as society tend to call women that are controlling. And I start to think of myself in my personality of being A-type, or however I want to label that. And it's a projection for me. So it's always fear when I'm in fear, and I know you're going to talk about that. But it's a shield. It's a place for me to shield myself and to protect myself. If I am feeling less myself in the moment, and I can up my level of control, then I start to feel okay.
So you've taken us right to the place where we get to look at how early on this started. And for anybody who's had exposure to the video that we love to share called the Still Face Experiment, or the post that we put up beyond the Still Face Experiment, what we see is that little kid, who's an example of what any kid would do, begins to manage the environment the moment that she starts to feel unsafe. So for people who haven't seen the video, what causes her to feel unsafe is that her mom's no longer interacting with her. And within seconds, she's trying to re-engage the mom. She's trying to take control of the situation. And so what we can learn from that is how important it is from the very first moments of our lives for us to manage what's going on around us, because we're afraid of what would happen to us if we weren't in connection with the people who are responsible for taking care of us. So it looks very different from the perspective of the little baby from what it looks like from the adult. The adult knows that they're there, they have a sense of time, they know that they're going to be taking care of the little child. But from the little child's perspective, the moment that the mom's not there for them, they've got no idea the mom's coming back. So that's just to give a little bit of background to that scenario that comes out of there. But the bottom line is, we've been controlling since we were tiny little infants, because we were afraid of what would happen, and we needed to try and get an outcome, a connective outcome, that would keep us safe. So we've always been controlling. Every one of us is controlling, and if we don't control, we'll never feel safe.
Yeah, and it brings me back to the conversation about control being neither good nor bad. It just is. So when we take the power out of the word control and we start to look at it from an observation place and really starting to see our behavior, when it's playing out, what's happening, who we're interacting with, what's the situation, when we can come from that place, then we are now able to respond appropriately. You know, I like that word responsible, but it's really about being response-able. So able to respond. So when we look at control, understanding that control is a part of us, and it is a part that will come out at different times, not putting anything on it, it just is, then we can really start to see what's behind it and what's happening, and where am I currently that's causing this push for more control. And it really is about safety. Control is a very effective way to get back to this place of feeling safe. If I am feeling internally out of control or outside of myself, I can control everything around me, move all the pawns in the place I need them to be. Therefore, feeling safe, feeling okay, that can allow room to get grounded again. So not making control a negative or a positive, it just is.
Yeah, so there's not too much more to say about this. Really, what we're, for this audience, introducing this idea of how to be more mindful of what's going on. And if anyone watching this is able to notice when the desire for control comes up, or when they start doing things that are controlling, to bring attention to the fact that something must be uncomfortable for me, and I wonder what's uncomfortable for me. What is it that's not feeling safe in my environment? And from what we'll share as we go along is this piece of, if it's not a physical threat, it's going to be an emotionally disconnected threat. We're afraid of being ostracized, of socially rejected, of something disconnective is happening in our environment. Someone's criticizing us, someone's implying something about us, looking at us in a particular way that brings up for us this feeling that, oops, I'm going to somehow lose face, I'm somehow going to be disrespected. These are all signs of disconnectedness. And so that mindfulness piece for the audience is really, I'm controlling rather than judging it, being aware there must be something that feels uncomfortable, and then going to look at what that is so that we can solve for connectedness, to try and find out what is going on in our environments that is causing us to feel disconnected. And that's really the shortcut to being able to let go of control. When I learn that those things that I perceive as disconnected are not really.
Yeah, and I love that. It's the simplicity of that, right? It's sometimes we make things a lot more challenging than they need to be, and then we bring in the whipping. So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on our next video. Bye-bye.